I'm watching.
Not the group of three. Should be there by itself.
Oh, good evening, everybody. If you can hear me.
Hey everyone.
How we doing?
Good.
Good,
I
good.
seem preoccupied. I'm building something here.
I haven't seen us come up yet.
No.
It's Vaughn being slow again. Oh, they can hear us, but they can't see us.
Oh.
Okay, quick, put your clothes on.
We all know how Vaughn can be sometimes, a little temperamental, but refresh your screen, maybe that'll work. But anyways, since you can hear us, we have Mr. Matt Stanko with us tonight from CAVR, and maybe you'd like to introduce yourself, Matt.
Sure, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, my first name's Matthew, Stanko is my last name, and I handle all of the public relations for CAVR Canada. So welcome to the show.
Right on. We did finally pop up. I hope everything is kind of not too laggy for sound versus video, and everything will work. So, excellent, excellent. So, how is everybody doing tonight out there? I know I'm doing fabulous, so...
Good times. Enjoying all the sweet weather here in Edmonton, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so anybody get any vape mail this week?
Yes. I got myself the Cyclone from Vicious Ant, and this thing is a hell of a lot smaller than I thought anything would be.
Is that the one with the AFC, or is that the same as the one I have?
I don't know what you mean by AFC.
Airflow control?
Nope.
No airflow control? Yeah, that's the
So
same
just
as
give
the
you an
one I have.
idea. That's my iGo L, and the size comparison.
Yeah, they're
Kinda
small.
They're tiny. I don't know if you can't really tell that.
Yeah, small.
Tiny.
Well, it's a 16 millimeter Addy versus a 20 millimeter Addy, so. Or a
Yeah, I haven't
21.
built anything on it yet. I'm gonna actually probably try that tonight. And with that, if I can find it, I already lost it already. I got myself the Chaplin tip.
Oh, nice.
I'm all happy about that.
Cool. Well, if you guys were on Alberta Vapers, you would have seen what I got this week from Mr. Kingpin. And I'm just throwing a new battery in it here, but I got a Mirandus in.
Nice.
It'll focus. There it is. So that is what I am rocking right now with the Origin on it. And it is freaking hits hard. So
I'm very excited for the vape meeting next week. Me and Joel can get together.
Anybody else get anything?
Some crowds.
did anybody else get anything? Matt, did you get anything?
Yeah, I did actually. I Taste 134, we're just talking about it before the start of the show. Love it. Absolutely love this mod. Best mod I've ever used.
Excellent.
You don't find it too bulky or anything, hey?
I do. Well, no, I do. I will admit that. If I'm traveling around, it's like, where do I put this friggin' thing, right? It doesn't fit my jacket. Can't really put it in your pants, right? I mean, it's like, that's what I'm really finding. So, yeah, it's challenging.
Is that
Those more of a-
Is that a 134 in your pants, or are you just happy to see me?
Yeah, well, trust me, I'm happy to
134.
see you,
So it's more one that you'll just probably keep at home or maybe in the car at most.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, trying to travel with it, I won't say it's impossible, but it's definitely a pain.
I find I'm almost that way with all my mods. All my mods pretty much stay at home, and then I just got my Ego Twist that I go out with.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think that's what I'm going to do, because this weekend, I mean, this thing was a nightmare. No, total nightmare.
Right on. So, what reason we asked Matt onto the show is tonight is I want to talk about what everybody can do as a vapor to help our view to the public. And I thought Matt would be a great guy to do that, being he is from the consumer advocacy group. Because we all want to come across as in a good light. We don't want people to look, oh, well, it's the same as smoking or whatever. We want them to look at us as, you know, hey, they're making a real effort here to not have cigarettes and not pollute everybody else's lungs and the smell and all that stuff. So Matt, if you want to take the floor for a bit here and kind of talk about what Vapers can do to help everybody out.
Well, the first thing you can do is, if you look at the media and you look at what's going on now, especially in Canada, there's not a day that goes by, there's not another negative article out there or another commentary that's negative. What a consumer can do is get your information correct. Be educated. You know, the information is already out there. You know, our website is one place to go. ECTA is another place to go. They're on the vendor side. What does the law say is a great place to go. So the information is out there. So, you know, as a consumer, get your facts correct. The first thing, stop saying you quit smoking. As soon as you say that, it sets into motion the entire argument that our e-cigarettes are a quit smoking device, which they're not. So that's the biggest problem right there. All we hear is, oh, you know, I bought this great e-cigarette, and they go in the media, so they start commenting, and that's what they're saying. That is the biggest problem that I've been seeing. Get educated. Understand what the law is, because a lot of those articles, that's what they're talking about, right? Oh, Health Canada says they're banned in Canada. No, that's not true. Take the information and start responding. So that is the number one things a consumer and everyone listening can do.
Sorry, a question just to follow up on what you were just saying there is now you're, because Health Canada does say they're banned. They come out and say that. Now, right?
Okay.
They do say that, right, to the media. So, well, they're not really, they're banned as a quit smoking aid. They're not banned as a recreational device. Am I correct by saying that? Or
no,
or am I reading it totally wrong?
No, that's completely incorrect. So Health Canada actually does not say they're banned anywhere. What they do say is electronic cigarettes need market authorization, and until they do so, they're not legal. But there's a big difference between saying it's banned, meaning you can't use that product right here, and that we don't authorize them as the regulator. There's a huge difference there. So if you say they're banned, then what I would say to you is show me on their website or anywhere else where they say that. And in fact, they don't say that anywhere.
No, and
it's very misleading. Yeah.
I know they don't say that on their website, but that's what they do tell the media. And so I just kind I know there's a lot of can be a lot of misconception, and there needs to be reading between the lines because it doesn't get maybe said direct, but that's the way it comes through. You know, and
like regardless of the so
that's how the media is portraying it. If anything, it's may not be Health Canada saying it, but it's the newspaper, you know, writer, editor that's saying this is what we need in there.
Absolutely, because to kind of take a step back, there was again, I'm not quite sure the media outlet that came out with it, but it was just 2 weeks ago, and that's exactly what they said on their page. Health Canada says that electronic cigarette use is banned. Well, no, they never said that. So when I actually spoke to the reporter, again, the information she got from Health Canada then gets formulated into, oh, there must be a ban. So you're right, there is this fine line that's being sent out, and that's where the misinformation is occurring. Health Canada has never publicly come out in the media or anywhere else, by the way, to say that e-cigarettes are banned in Canada. That's never happened. So that's part of the link there that we have to be very careful of.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to jump on too is what you were saying with people saying that they quit smoking and now they're smoking e-cigarettes. It might be misinterpreted too, or a lot of people are going out there saying I quit smoking cigarettes, which is a totally different thing. You know, so
Right.
you know, we have found something different, but it isn't something that's letting us go getting rid of the nicotine and getting rid of everything. We actually haven't quit. We just found a healthy alternative.
Right. So
Hey
exactly.
guys. Hey, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt, but
Yeah,
we
I
have some
saw
people.
it. I just saw. I
Okay.
was told to turn the music down a bit, so
Okay.
it's down a bit.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So another thing a consumer can do, and you just touched on it a second ago, is the quit smoking thing. In all honesty, you haven't quit anything. All you've done is transition from a lethal product into one that is a safer product.
But you have quit some things that are in cigarettes, though.
Yes, absolutely. But how does the media take that? So when you speak and you say, "Well, I quit smoking," so immediately it becomes this link to, okay, so that's a quit smoking device. And some of the health organizations that I spoke to way in September, that's exactly what they said. They said, regardless of what you're saying, this is the perception that's out there right now, that smokers are going to move to this device that you're talking about, and they're going to quit. So whether it's marketed as such is irrelevant. That is the perception, and that perception, unfortunately, is fueled by two things. It's fueled by the media, but it's also fueled by consumers that are constantly saying it. So
Anybody that I've ever seen that sells somebody a kit, they're already telling them right off the hop when they're selling the kit that they're still getting their nicotine. So when they know they're getting their nicotine, they know right away they haven't actually quit the habit.
That's right. And because you haven't quit anything, you've just moved one deadly habit into a safer one.
Yes.
Nothing else has changed. I mean, yes, of course, you don't have 5 million chemicals. Yeah, we get that. But where it goes wrong at the consumer side is, here's my quit smoking story.
Yes.
Here's my quit smoking story. And there was a vendor, and I'm not going to repeat who they are, but what happened is on the website, that's what was actually listed. When the case went to court, that was the first thing Health Canada said. We relied heavily on those statements, and that was the end of the case. And obviously not to talk about it further, but that is what happens. It immediately sends the wrong message out there.
I think the only way you could have that advertised if you're selling liquids without e-juice or without nicotine. Sorry.
Yeah, sure you could, but again, the same problem with that is you can't make health claims, and even if you did, the reality is you still transitioned, right? So I'd be very careful on saying quitting because you haven't really quit anything.
You're just trading one habit for another, so you're not quitting.
That's right.
You're just switching habits. You're just switching habits. And
yeah, so this still contains nicotine, and I'm still doing the same thing. The only thing I'm not doing is lighting my Bic and lighting my cigarette. That's the only difference. And
I think that's a large portion why people get into these things, because they're just saving money. It's not really the habit; it's to save money.
Of course, absolutely. And but here's the bigger piece that is very, very important. If you look at nicotine replacement therapy, it's been around for decades in Canada and US and globally. People are going to those products to quit. So they're not transitioning to nicotine-containing gums or the inhalers. Just stay on those products, right? That's not what's happening. You're using those products as a quit smoking aid only. So there's a huge difference there on using an e-cigarette, which most people have no intentions on changing your nicotine level or stopping that or using that device, right? I mean, I certainly don't. And most vapors have no intention. So you got to really look at the bigger picture, where the gums and the patches, it is designed to quit and to stop using it permanently, right? Huge difference.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, Navcom made a good comment here. I'm just going to repeat what he said. And he said, while that didn't work, let's try it again. The media makes money off ads, bad news, and controversy. Gets more viewers than good news. And, that's true, too.
Yeah. Absolutely is true. There's no doubt about it. It's true. So that comment is absolutely true, because this whole e-cigarette thing has been in the media daily now.
Yeah.
It's in there daily. If you look back in just a year ago, nobody in Canada anyways, in the media, even spoke about e-cigarettes. Nobody even knew about it. So what happened? It's because it's the newest topic, the most controversial topic, and this is why you have every single day another story. And so, yeah, he's absolutely right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then Vinny here is saying, as a vendor, what can we do to make sure our stores, either brick and mortar or online, are portraying e-cigarettes or e-liquid in the right light, labels, content, etc.?
Oh, big question.
That's a really big question. I don't know if 2 hours is
question.
enough for the show tonight.
No, but I can answer it though. You know what? It actually is a very easy question. So let me kind of frame that as this. Most vendors want to do the right thing, right? We accept that, we understand that. They're not sure what to do. And this is a prime example of that question. The first thing you can do as a vendor, be educated on the law. As I mentioned, there's many places to go to get that. What does the law say is a perfect place to get it. It outlines labeling, it outlines nicotine, is it a drug, is it not a drug, all these great things. If you follow that and you're following the CCR 2001, you are definitely on the way to be where you need to be. That puts it in a right way. Every time I speak to an anti-smoking group or a public health group, what I do is I take the arguments away. So I don't debate the issue, I take it away. So the first question I always get answered is, we don't know what's in your e-liquid. We have no idea what's in there. Now, is that a true statement? Yeah, well, for Kavar it is actually, because I'm not a vendor, we're not vendors. But yes, we know there's 3 ingredients, there's PG, nicotine, and flavoring, but can we really prove that? No, the answer is no, we can't. So as a vendor, get your testing done, right? Get it done by an accredited lab. Make sure your labels are indelible, have all the proper stuff they're supposed to have. If you can do that as a vendor, then the argument that the antis have for you, you've taken it away from them.
I agree.
The second thing, make sure you're following all the laws. And the biggest misconception that I hear is there is no laws in Canada. And in fact, you're absolutely false, because there is.
I believe it.
Follow exactly the CCR 2001. Make sure that you're following that exactly. And you know what? The arguments are taken away. If you're selling e-liquid in glass bottles and in, that kind of nonsense, I'm telling you, that's where things turn negative, because the antis eat that up within 2 seconds, and their argument is now valid. So that would be the first thing you want to do. Understand as a vendor, and again, don't take this the wrong way, it might come out, but as a vendor, it's your responsibility to understand what that is. It's not up to Kavar or up to any consumer. Think about this. If you are a restaurant, it is not up to the customer to figure out what the health laws are that you need to abide by, right? It's up to the restaurant to follow them. So think about it that way. It sounds a bit negative, but think about how that works.
So,
when I'm sitting there, it's not up to me to inspect the restaurant. It's up to you to understand it. Right?
So Hayes is asking what's wrong with glass bottles.
Oh, there's a lot wrong with glass bottles. First of all, they don't comply with any legislation within Canada. That's the first thing. So, and if you want to call it illegal, it probably is. So if you have a glass bottle and it's containing nicotine that you are selling to a consumer, that bottle can break. It has no mandated poison symbols on it, no ingredient listings on it. It has absolutely no childproof caps. It is, in fact, 100% not what it should be. That's the problem with it.
Because a chemical can't be sold in a glass bottle. It has to be an unbreakable bottle.
Absolutely not. Just imagine if you went to the drugstore and you bought liquid Tylenol and it came in a glass bottle with no labeling, absolutely no product composition listed. Do you think that's legal? Absolutely not. So glass bottles absolutely are prohibited. They're not. You can't be doing it. So I know it sounds negative and there's going to be hate mail on it, but it's the reality. And you can't,
even if it has a childproof cap, it doesn't matter. It's still a glass bottle that could break.
Absolutely. It is banned under the Act. What you can do is look at the CCR 2001. Those definitions and how that needs to be applied are crystal clear, right? So they're black and white, how to follow it. And if you refer to that, then you'll be able to understand why glass bottles are absolutely not appropriate.
There we go. Cool. Lots of good information.
That's something I definitely did not know.
Yeah. And think about this. Think about what is the #1 public health question that Kavar has to answer, and that's one of them. That the product that is being sold is a huge, huge problem, that it doesn't meet any sort of standards or any sort of guidelines. And that's the problem. So they look at those bottles, by the way, and they say, look what we have. Look at this. And this is the problem, right? So to them, it's a no-win. I mean, you can't win that argument with them when you see that.
Okay, so for example, just being devil's advocate, what happens if a vendor is selling a glass bottle? By law, what can be done?
Well, you got to think about what the law is right now in Canada. So first of all, yes, that law is there, but Health Canada hasn't been applying the applicable laws right now. So, you know, someone could easily create a case with that. So the way it stands now, nothing's being done. So, and that's a really bad answer, but unfortunately, it's the correct one. So
what happens if somebody does have a chemical, not necessarily e-liquid, in a company, and they're selling that liquid in a glass bottle? What is, I guess, the minimum or maximum fine that Canada could push on them?
I can be totally honest, I don't know, but I can tell you right now that it would be a huge, huge problem, and you would see enforcement immediately. Like if you were selling any sort of product and it's a chemical and it's in a glass bottle, you can be rest assured that if you went to the health department with that, that would be the end of it. So the only difference is with vaping, that isn't happening because Health Canada isn't doing anything because they're not applying the applicable laws in the first place. So that's kind of it's probably not the best answer for you, but
that's probably the bigger problem, though. Is that,
it is the big problem.
And I mean, being a vendor myself, I am not complying with the laws right now, and I know I'm not, but I'm working on rectifying that. And I mean, I think that's really important. But I mean, I've been testing my bottles to make sure my child pack works properly. I've actually been talking to my bottle supplier to get the paperwork that I read on what the law says on the testing that's been done on the child-proof locks to make sure that's right. You know, there's so much homework to do when you talk about this law, and I've actually been a little bit overwhelmed because I read and read and read, and then it all starts to meld together and turn into this blob, right? And it's...
I'm sure being a vendor, it is hard. You got a lot of work just with your business alone, let alone learning all this new information every day.
Well, yeah, and you know, and I'm so glad that somebody has done a lot of this work, you know, on what the law says, Cindy. You know, she did all this
that's
work.
Our community. That's our community.
You know,
and you gotta, you know, I don't want to interrupt you, but you gotta think about it this way. So you're right. So if you look at that information, it's already done for you in that aspect, right? Because you don't have to do the research or do all that. All the links are in there. It's very simple. Actually, I won't say it's simple, but it's easier to follow that way. And so you're right. It's very, very difficult. But just like yourself, there are so many people that want to do the right thing. And so you're not just the only one. There's probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And the more we get there, then the more credible the industry becomes. Because if you think about it from a Kavar standpoint, so think about it when I'm speaking with, you know, the antis in public health, you know, it doesn't take much for your arguments to disappear really quickly. And that's the challenge. The challenge is to take it away and say, you know what, this industry is credible. But it's not credible when these things are in glass bottles and there's no labels anywhere, right? It's a huge problem.
You know, and developing that label isn't an overnight thing. It takes hours and hours and hours of work. I mean, I've probably put into my labels alone, I'm probably into them for 8 hours and they're not done yet. Just trying to get everything worded properly, and the French and the English, and making sure I get translation right, because I'm no Frenchman. I can't speak French. You know? So, I know, eh? But
so when you're... Go ahead. Sorry, Jay.
No, I'm finished. Go ahead, Vito.
I was just going to ask, so you're asking that, or you're saying that by law they have to have the proper labeling, so the ingredients that we know are PG, VG, and nicotine, then the flavoring. So in the flavoring you could have different kind of oils in the flavoring, different, you know, we don't know what's in those flavors because I'm not a vendor, I'm not a juice maker, but there probably could be like 6 or 7 different ingredients that you need to add to that label by law.
That's right. So if you look at the labeling requirements now, of course, as you talk about ingredients, that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So I'm fully not, qualified to speak about that. But what I can say though is if you look at what needs to be on there, it is quite clear. So regardless of the ingredient list, like the poison symbol, the childproof caps, indelible labels, those three things are critical to that. Regular paper labels are not indelible, and they're actually not. I mean, they're useless.
Yeah.
But
So
they have to be available, do they not?
well, they have to be indelible, and what
Yes.
indelible means
Yeah.
is that they will last the lifetime of that product.
Yeah.
Which means if they get wet or covered in anything, they don't rub off.
Like I use a
So
thermal,
it's-
I use a thermal printer on a label like this, black and white.
Right.
So
Right.
I can put this in water and leave it in there, and it won't rot. It'll stay.
Right.
All the information
Indelible.
stays on the label. That's what he's saying when he says that, Beetle. The
Right.
same labels that Krieg's uses too, Beetle.
But what I was
Yeah.
getting at too is that all these chemicals are all not really chemicals, but whatever chemicals are in the juices or their flavorings, I'm sure if somebody wanted to get the sheet on them, they could get the sheet on actually what's in there. Sure, they may not be put on every bottle, but I'm sure if somebody wanted that information, they could be given to them.
Right, and that may be true, but do you really think, now again, to play devil's advocate there, even from a Kavar standpoint, and remember, I'm a consumer as well, so I have a couple different hats to play. So I'm a consumer, and I'm going to order, let's say, from you. Do you really think you're going to send me that list? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, let's truly be devil's advocate there. Do you
But
really
the thing
think?
is, though, is it's just like restaurants. If restaurants need to know if peanuts are in the recipe or anything
Sure.
like that, it's
Yeah.
the same thing that any customer can have that if they ask for it. It's
True.
not like it's put out on every single wall, but it's made
Mhm.
available if they want to know what's in it.
Right, exactly. But the bigger question, though, becomes on nicotine content. Because there was a study done very recently
Okay.
from the Canadian Cancer Society. I think it was down in September. And what they did is they tested 21 different samples from 21 different, e-liquid manufacturers. None of them met the standard. So if it said it had 18 milligrams of nicotine, in reality, it had less or higher. That's truly what they're nailing. So it's not so much the, what flavors in there. It's more of, is that really 24 or is it really 8? Or is it really 0?
Yeah, I got you.
And if I go to a vendor, are you really going to tell me that? So it's a difficult and it's an ugly, ugly topic. I mean, it's a very hard one. But that's what they nailed, right? So when we say, yeah, there's PG, there's PG nicotine and flavors, really? Can I really truly say that? Yeah, I can. But what else is not in there?
Yeah.
At what levels?
Yeah.
Also think about this. What else is not supposed to be in there? You have no verification of that, and that's where this subject can really turn ugly, which is why mandatory testing has to be done.
Yeah.
Again, ugly issue altogether.
Yeah.
And two, think of this, there are a lot of flavors that do not and should never be vaped because when they're heated up, create dangerous compounds. So
Yeah.
think about this again. Are those compounds in there? You don't know that. And you can't verify that either.
Yeah.
That's the dangerous part of this.
It's the same thing as when you buy chemicals at a store. You buy in two and you mix them in the same bottle. It's the same thing when you have two liquids at home, might be even two different companies. You mix them in the same bottle, even if there's a couple drops in there could be a reaction.
Absolutely. And think of the bigger question. So if someone said to me, well, Matt, why do you vape? Well, I vape because it's safer, which is true, and that's a true, honest answer. Now, obviously, regardless of what's in there, even if you can't verify, is it still safer? Yeah, obviously. There's no doubt about it. But that's not what public health is all about. Public health is we don't know what's in there because these standards are not being met. We have vendors with glass bottles. We have all these what they would call manufacturing problems out there. So from a product standpoint, this is a huge problem, and that's what they keep nailing. So if you look at the CCR 2001, it takes care of what's really in there. And remember, all of us are consumers on this show, and your panelists are also the same thing. Mm-hmm. So, I think from a consumer, you should have that right to know what's in there and be satisfied with that, and not guess at it. I mean, you wouldn't go and buy something from a supermarket, and you have no idea what's in there. Like, would you? This industry is no different than that.
You're right.
Actually, it's not because
you make a really good point, though. I mean, My daughter's celiac. She's very, very allergic to wheat, rye, and barley.
Okay.
And, you know, I have to know exactly what's in anything I buy from the store. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
there's wheat, rye, barley, a lot of soy products contain that. So I have to know exactly what's in stuff when I'm buying it. That's why I do most of the cooking at home. I buy raw ingredients and cook it. Is because now I know
Right.
what's
And
going
why is
into it.
that?
Because I know what's going
Right.
into my product. Right?
Okay.
I know what's going into my food. You know, so it's a really good point that we need to know what's in this, and we need
You
to.
have to know. You have to, because
Yeah.
let me say this. If you look at tobacco manufacturing, by the way, which has not changed in decades, so every part of that manufacturing standard, whether the product kills you or not, is completely irrelevant. All of it is manufactured under a standard, right? So as the tobacco is cultivated and all these things, all of it is strictly controlled under manufacturing. Every chemical that's added into tobacco, and there's hundreds of them, all of this information is available. And whether you buy one pack or you buy a carton, it all meets the same standard. Think about this. Can you really say that about e-liquid? You absolutely cannot say that.
Yeah.
And I know it angers a lot of vendors. I get it, and I hear it all the time.
But I'm asking this too. Can you honestly say that there's the same amount of each nicotine and each chemical content in each cigarette you smoke?
Well, you probably could actually, but I mean, everyone smokes differently. So regardless of that, and everyone vapes differently, right? You vape differently than I do, and everybody knows that. But the real deal is what is in that e-liquid that you purchased, and can you be confident that what's in there should be in there, and what should not be in there is not in there? And the answer, if I was speaking with Nancy on the show, is I don't know either. And that is alarming. When they hear stuff like that, they are like, this industry is out of control. That is actually what they say to us.
That's the thing, though. I may not know what's in it, but I can tell you that I have gotten my taste back, my smells back, my taste back, my energies back through this. Like,
and you
those
feel
are
great.
my arguments. Those are my arguments, not the fact that I've just straight up quit smoking.
But that's an opinion to prove that.
Yeah, you got to prove
that doesn't work.
In a court of law, opinions don't matter.
They don't work, because here's what happened, and I can tell you this from a predictable standpoint. When I was speaking with the Canadian Cancer Society about that study, by the way, the one I talked about with the 21 samples, the first thing she said is, I will give you the scientific research that we got from the accredited lab. That's not the point here. The point here is that every single one of these samples failed. So as an industry, how do you advocate that? How can you sit here today and tell me every single sample failed? Yeah, it's great that you feel great and that you're not smoking anymore. That's wonderful. But at the end of the day, this is a consumer product that has to be upheld to the same standards, by the way, that a pair of socks does, or your jeans, or anything else that you wear. That standard is there. So if your jeans say 100% cotton, that's what's in there. So this industry is no different than that. And
I have a question.
Yep.
I have a question out for the vendors. Can the vendors anyway just add nicotine by itself in its own quantity? Does it have to be mixed with something else in order to give its quantity?
Well, you can't. I mean,
you can't take pure nicotine, man. Like, I mean, you have to mix it with something to mix it down.
Of course.
I mean,
yeah,
because pure nicotine will kill you. I mean, just opening a thing of pure nicotine will kill you. The vapor will kill you, right? So it has to be mixed with something to mix it down. And I mean, that's something that people need to understand too. Is if it's not mixed, it's the deadliest chemical on Earth.
So think about this. Yeah. So
it's more deadly than cyanide.
So if you were going to quit smoking and you decided to use the nicotine replacement gum on the market, and it says it's 4 milligrams of nicotine, that's what's in there, right? That is the standard. Now, whether you absorb 3.8, everybody is different. Just like when you smoke, everybody's different. And like when you vape, that nicotine is different on every single person. Yes. But at the end of the day, that's not what's relevant. What's relevant is what's in this product is absolutely in here. And the manufacturing standards to say that are obtained. So whether you feel great or not because you're vaping is not what health officials are concerned about. They get it. So they say, well, that's great. And we understand that, but our concern is this product is being sold And this is the bigger problem. I mean, we're great that you quit. That's wonderful, but that's not what their argument is. It absolutely is not. So, huge difference there.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, Vanilla, this is a Canadian broadcast, and we're just talking about Canadian rules and stuff right now, but you're welcome to hang out with us and chat and learn about what happens up here with vaping.
Like, and I understand that, maybe this vape show might not be as funny as it normally is or joking around, but, sometimes it's really good to hear some of this information that's out there that we really need to know. Not all of us want to sit down and listen to this, but this is something that we really do need to know as our community.
This is very important.
Yes.
Let me even chime in there quickly. Like, I get the juice reviews, we're all about that, like what kind of equipment do you have? It's great information. The reality is now, if you look at Nova Scotia, we have a battle going on down there. We have a serious problem that is started up, and it's going to start spreading. So, yeah, sometimes, we can't be joking. We can't have those fun times because all of that could be taken away very, very quickly. It's why the community has to understand. Yes, there's a great place for juice reviews. I get it. We understand it. But we need the community to start understanding how serious this issue is. And don't think for a minute that it's not coming to you, because it is. And it's like Nova Scotia is one place where draft legislation is already in place to do two things. Ban e-cigarette sales online, huge problem. And then the second piece is ban e-cigarette use in public areas. So don't think for a second it's not coming to Ontario or any other jurisdiction, because it is.
I want to touch on that online subject a little bit.
Sure.
Because I'm really on the fence about selling e-cigarettes online. Now, I know when I started, that was my primary place I bought everything. I mean, hardware, liquid. I mean, that's the primary, because it's the easiest way to find the best deal, find what you're looking for, so on and so forth. Now, because now that I'm in the role of the vendor, I don't want to sell to a minor. So how do I know because I don't sell a lot online. Most of mine is bought online, but I deliver it personally. So I know if they're of age or not, because I check ID, right? But so hardware I'm not as concerned about, but liquid, it's kind of this real gray area, because we shouldn't be selling to minors.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, let me just finish my thought here. So them making it where you can't sell online. Now hardware, I could see, okay, yeah, you can sell that online. But liquid, I think it should be bought in a brick and mortar. And I mean, you might disagree with me, but I just think it's the easiest way to know who you're selling to.
Sure. I mean, I guess I could agree with that, because if you look at tobacco sales, right? Tobacco sales are done interaction, right? Which is why age is obviously enforced. Now, obviously, you guys are in a different area, but within Ontario, alcohol is sold only in alcohol government stores, so the LCBO. And that's it. Right. So, if you think about that, yeah, I can see that being a proposal. But the reality is the majority of e-cigarettes are sold online. So, I don't know what I really think about it. I think from an age restriction, obviously I support it. Do I think it's the right way to handle this issue? I don't know what it's going to do. So are we saying, but are we really saying that, and is there any evidence that supports teenagers using electronic cigarettes? Well, not really.
No.
Absolutely not really.
There isn't, but I've had a couple that have tried.
Sure.
So, it's this really tough gray area, and it's kind of, because I don't want to see them smoking, and at the same time, I'd rather see them using a personal vaporizer than using cigarettes. But
well, sure, so would I. But
the reality is, do we want them using nicotine? No. I mean, the only safe thing is to not vape or smoke at all. But I smoked for a long time, and I enjoyed the habit. I didn't enjoy the cigarettes, but I enjoyed the habit. And I get to keep my habit, in a different manner. But
that's not really, but the issue though is online sales. And you have to realize is that enforceable? And I do know, and I can say this, because I buy online, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
And, there are protocols you can put in place, and I know many vendors have done that. So, those are things to consider. I think all of us at health officials, health departments, we all agree kids should stay far clear of e-cigarettes, period, no matter what. Is it really the right way to handle that? I'm not so sure about that. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference because in reality, we don't really have much data anyways that kids are using the product.
Absolutely.
So is it really worth it? And remember, from what I understand, and again, I need to do more research, the online issue is a federal issue. It's not provincial. Mm-hmm. So if that is the case, then I'm not sure how that's going to happen when we have Health Canada not saying anything for the last 4 years.
Absolutely.
So I'd be very weary of that, and I'm not sure it's going to do anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's such. We don't know what's going to happen, and so it's really hard to judge and know how it's going to work, right?
Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of support for that because I can tell you, like most of us order that product online. So, a brick and mortar store. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with it. I don't think it's the solution at all. But.
No, it's not. I mean, if we could get them where they'd allow us to use credit cards, because we can do age verification as well with credit cards.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But no credit card will let you use them for processing. So,
Well, there are some, like I do know some vendors that do. And I mean, again, that's another step in the right direction to avoid obviously sales. But we got to remember something here, just like all of us were kids at one point. If you want it that bad, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
So, in reality, is it really going to make a difference? Hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of support for it because what you're really doing is putting so many vendors out of business. Actually, the majority will be out of business. Like, I don't know. It's a hard one.
Mandi and Pixie, you guys have been so quiet. Do you have anything to say to Matt? You're typing away. I hear you mashing that keyboard. Evelyn even asked, what did that keyboard ever do to you? So.
Hey, I'm talking.
I see you typing away in chat. There, yeah.
I'm talking in chat. Fiona, you spelled my name wrong. That's my computer. How insulting.
So,
well, we have Rec here. We have Rec here wondering who we all are. We can maybe go around to a quick little introduction if we want.
Yeah, we absolutely can. Is he? Oh, Rick L is, or who's that?
Rec.
Oh, Rec. Rec. Oh, okay. So it looks like Pixie already said though. So.
Okay. All right.
Pixie already.
Good job, Pixie.
Pixie typed it all in. She just typed like.
All right.
Beat that keyboard up. So yeah, I mean, it's really tough issues, and I mean, Mandi and Pixie, you guys haven't been saying much. So did you guys want to ask Matt anything, or does anybody in the audience have something to ask Matt?
Now's the time.
So
go for it.
Yeah, just
go for it.
I'm really just taking this all in, and I've got a lot to take in. So this is awesome.
It's a lot of information, and it's. I've been working really hard at trying to educate myself, and it is so much to try and educate on.
It's hard. I can tell you this.
It's not hard. It's time consuming.
It's very time
consuming.
Here's the worst mistake you can make. Especially with the legal issue. If we come out, and you're talking to someone, a reporter, whatever, and we say, oh, but wait a second, Schedule F, Section D, that makes it legal. That's false, actually. That's only one part of the meat and potatoes. It's only one section of that does make it legal. So, again, as a consumer, as a vendor, you need to be educated before you say anything, right? And it's hard, right? Like, even from a Kavar standpoint, we've made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes.
Yep,
but what happens is when you make a mistake, then what happens, that is printed. And when that's printed, people go with it. And then they start saying, oh, Schedule F, Schedule F, Schedule F. No, that's only part of it.
Holy
and
cow.
Because we've now publicized it, everyone's taken that as, that's what makes it legal, guys. And it's actually, that's not even part of it. It's one small section.
Okay. D13, that's Daryl, wants to know about
13.
Yeah, Daryl, he wants to know about traveling and e-cigarettes
Oh,
and
great
customs.
question. Yeah, I love this question. Love it. So here's the facts. So again, back to the legal issue. Is e-cigarettes banned in Canada? Well, they're not. Are they banned anywhere else in the US? No, they're not. So if you are traveling, there are a lot of restrictions that actually do apply to you. So first of all, when your baggage is being scanned, most airlines, by the way, so if you look at WestJet, Air Canada, a whole host of them, they have on their website how to travel with your electronic cigarette. They make it perfectly clear, actually, where that needs to go, which means they are to go in your onboard luggage, right?
Mm-hmm.
They do not go underneath. They do not go into checked baggage under any circumstance. You must be able to provide them to security personnel. So, in a lot of times, security personnel want more information. They might do a drug swab. They've done it to me. Absolutely, go for it. You might need to take it apart and show them different pieces of it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you are legally allowed to travel through Canada and the US. There is no restrictions whatsoever. The only difference is you are not allowed, from my understanding, is to bring like 15 bottles of e-liquid. It needs to be personal use only, from what I understand.
No,
Exactly.
You said it wasn't banned anywhere. Is it not banned in
Oh, it is banned. Oh, it is. So
okay.
if you look, I think, again, I'm not sure if this is a city or whatnot, but if you look at Australia, so Victoria, Australia, I think I said that right. Embarrassed if I didn't. But in fact, they are banned to bring in to the country. Personal or not, you are not allowed to do it. So there are other areas where it is actually banned to bring in. But in the US, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you are not allowed to use it on board, and they must be carried with you.
They
so
must
on your
stay
online
stowed.
baggage. Absolutely, they must stay stowed, turned off. So if you check WestJet is one of them, check Air Canada is another airline. The majority of those airlines have a policy on it.
Yeah.
And
actually, sorry to interrupt you there, but
no, go ahead.
when I travel, because I carry mechanical mods with me, I take them completely apart and leave the pieces apart, so it doesn't look like a pipe that could be misconstrued as a bomb, but everything is taken apart and put in my bag. And it's just I've traveled lots to the U.S. and I never ever get stopped when I'm on a plane or whatever. So.
And, I've had mine, checked, as I said, like we'd like to do a drug scan. Those things you do have to be very cooperative with, and they're only doing their job. Remember, all of them know what e-cigarettes are, and they certainly know what mods are, right? So this is not the pen, 510s. Most vapors are using mods now, so they look really weird and odd shaped, like, my iTaste does. So you just need to be prepared for that, but I have never had issues, ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Actually, Krieg's just Skyped me, and he was asking me about, or getting me to ask you about bringing juice back from the States.
Be careful. Be careful, because I don't know a lot about that, That's more for what does the law say. But what I can tell you, if it's personal, is one thing. If you're carrying boxes of it back, I don't think that's going to apply, and I think you're going to run into a lot of problems.
I have brought juice back, but it's personal, and I never get stopped to ask about it. They just so if I do get stopped,
it's probably 1 or 2 bottles, but if you're bringing back like 10 or 15, they're not stupid. That's not personal. That's for something else. So that's been my experience with it. I have never had any problems whatsoever. None. And actually, it's very rare that someone will stop me. I think it's happened once. And it's just random. It's just a random screen. Can we test your e-liquid? Like do a little swab and put it in the machine? Yeah, sure. I really don't care what you do with it. So, that's kind of the long-winded version of the answer. But
now I did see a lot of other questions go by, but now I got to scroll back and find them. So everybody's just typing like mad.
You can imagine.
Oh, okay, here. Des, as a consumer, how can we get involved aside from spreading the proper information and educating ourselves?
Well, there's lots of things you can do. I mean, Obviously, we have our Facebook page. It's just one area where you want to join. Check out our website. It's very clear what's going on in the world right there. Actually, within Canada, not the world. And be educated. And that, is probably not the best answer overall, because I think he's asking for more. But if you're not educated and you're not responding, then that's unfortunately part of the problem. It is not up to Kavar to spend 24 hours a day responding to the media. Consumers, every single person that's watching your show today, can do the same thing I'm doing. You can get the right information, the factual information, and start responding to it appropriately.
Now, can they ask questions?
That's where it stands.
Can they ask questions on your Facebook page or email you guys to
Absolutely.
ask questions? Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't know, this is a very difficult issue, especially when it comes to the legality part of it. We have a contact us. I'm always available to answer questions. If I don't know the answer, I can get you the answer. There's so much out there that consumers can really do. What I don't want consumers to do, so here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to be sending letters to your MPP saying, stop the ban in Canada, because there is no ban in Canada. So it's the wrong message. Don't create noise where we don't need noise, right? That's number two. When you're vaping in public, understand where you are, right? Understand, the audience that's around you, and truly, truly get that. So if you're vaping on the subway, be conscious of that, right? Because if you start throwing that in people's faces, it's going to turn around and bomb in your face and make everyone look like an idiot, right? So there's lots of things that you can kind of do, and that's kind of the long version of that. But
that is one of the things I really wanted to touch on tonight too, is just because you think you can, I'm one of the strong believers too that, both my grandfathers, they both fought in the war, free country, all that stuff. I can do what I want, but we can be honest that this thing is not going to be open like smoking used to be 50 years ago. It isn't going to happen.
Absolutely.
So let's just try and be respectful and try and keep this thing going the way that we want it to keep going, and try and be respectful, just like Style and Puffer is saying there. It's just,
and it's a hard one. It's a very hard one because, just before you joined, actually, I was talking to the panelist about the Toronto Transit Commission. They have a very strict policy on smoking, by the way. If you get caught on the property, inside or out, it's an immediate fine. Yeah. For vaping, here's what they've actually asked, point blank, is that until we come up with a policy to deal with it, please vape on the outside platforms. Yeah. That's not too much to ask, to be totally honest.
No.
Can you vape in the subway legally? Yeah, sure you can. But what you're actually doing is kind of creating this standoffish kind of piece. And so, think about it that way, just like you mentioned. Know where you're at, and know that maybe where you're at, maybe it's not the best place to be doing, right? It's a fine line, I get it, but be very, very careful about it, because that's how you can help. You can't help by blowing it in someone's face saying, I have a right to stand here. Yeah, really? You kind of do, but it's gonna bomb, I'm telling you.
I have a right to stand there, but they have the right to stand there too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of misconceptions about vaping, and we know that. And there are a lot of people that want nothing to do with it. And do they have a right to clean air? Sure they do. Yeah. So there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And so you're absolutely right. And it's a fine line you've got to be careful with. Right? Know the audience, know where you're standing, and be respectful of that.
And one thing I have to say to that, my biggest issue too is that when you're vaping around a few smokers and you get the people that, oh, that stinks, or oh, I don't like that. Your thing is killing me right now.
That's right.
I understand your problems, but realize what you're doing to me as well. So
absolutely. And I was in Orlando in the summer, and I was at Epcot Center. Anyways, the whole reality is the security guard told me that I need to vape in the smoking area. Well, that's ridiculous because I'm not doing that. And that's how misguided this whole thing can end up being, right? So am I really going to do that? No, I'm just going to go around the corner and have my vape and come back.
That's what I did.
I'm not going to deal with that argument, because really she's just enforcing this ridiculous law. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. But am I going to comply with it? Nah, probably not. Not in that sense. I'll just go somewhere else. So I don't mean to be disobedient. I just mean understand where you're at and be respectful.
And Krieg's hit the nail right on the head. We have the right to be decent people and know how to act like one.
Absolutely. That's all you need to say about it.
Yeah.
All you need to say about it.
Yeah.
Right? You know, simplest way.
You know what? And being Canadians and being part of this community, I think we can all see eye to eye with that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because what it's going to do is put the ugliest image of vaping out there. Mm-hmm. And that is what you don't want. Because when the media picks up stuff like that, it's, you know, you can't turn it off, right?
It's the high school mentality again. Like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. Yeah. Like, we can't be like that. We're adults now.
That's right. And unfortunately, it puts everyone in a very bad light. And it doesn't take much to do that. It really just takes one person to be in the media with that, and now it's a can of worms, right? And we all know to be respectful. I mean, you know, like, you know, we all know where that stands.
We don't need to be Courtney Love.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We don't need that.
Hey, Brian, how do we want to do your giveaway here, buddy? Do you want the...
I like doing it by number.
Number? Okay, let me just pull that up if you guys want to keep chatting while I get it all ready here.
Okay.
Sure. So do you guys have any other questions or anything anything I can help answer that's driving you crazy?
Maybe not a question, but just a follow-up to your statement that, you know, you were asked to vape your personal device in a smoking section, and you nailed it. That's be respect. You know, I follow the smoking laws. Yes, I know I'm not smoking. Yes, people can argue that I am, whatever. I'm still going to, just, vape where I can, where people can smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another piece, too, to add on to that. So if you look at, I know, again, back to the TTC again. Now, think about it this way now. So if I were to receive a ticket for vaping on TTC property, I absolutely would challenge that, obviously, in court, because there is no law against it. And in fact, the TTC bylaw number 1 clearly states combustible tobacco product. So would I fight it? Oh, absolutely I would, because there's, it's ridiculous to say that they're the same thing. But if I'm being asked...
No, hang on, because nicotine is part of a tobacco product.
True.
It does come from tobacco.
But that's not what the law is. So you have to really...
That's just a matter of definition, though.
It is, but in a court of law, that's not going to be upheld. So what you could actually say is, well, I'm using snus and I'm using the patch. Is that also illegal on the property? The answer is no, it's not. Because that product... Because nicotine, yes, you're right, comes from tobacco, but we also know it can be made in a laboratory. So in all honesty, does it meet the definition of a tobacco product? Your e-cigarette? The answer is no, it doesn't. If it went to court, it'd be tossed out. It'd be tossed out within 2 seconds. So
that's a gray area to me, because as far as I'm concerned, nicotine does come from the tobacco plant, meaning that it is a tobacco product. So that's gray to me, even though you're saying that the law says it won't be.
It's false, because...
It's also in tomatoes and potatoes, nicotine.
That's true, yeah.
So think about it this way then. So if we said what some health groups want in Canada, and they've done it, they're trying to push it through in the US, if they want all e-cigarettes to fall under the Tobacco Control Act. Okay, really? Because what that's really going to say is that your e-cigarette is a tobacco product. And the answer is no, it's not. So nicotine does not make it a tobacco product. It certainly does not. Absolutely does not.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with it.
How many viewers do we have?
We have 45.
You can say THC that's in a marijuana plant isn't marijuana.
Okay.
Sorry, what's that?
That's a tough one, because you can say the THC that's in a marijuana plant is not part of the marijuana plant.
Right, but the difference there is that THC is a controlled substance in the US and within Canada.
So we had 45 viewers, 1 to 50 start. Here we go.
Nice.
It's going to be up to you to scroll through the numbers, by the way, Brian.
Yeah, no problem.
How many viewers do we have?
45.
For the newbies in the room, just let them know, throw a number in.
One number, enter only one number. It is okay if more than one number is entered that is the same. We will have a juice off. So please.
Love Metal is allowed to play, but she just has to piff, or he or she just has to piff it out to somebody. He or she has already tried it, so just piff it out to somebody else.
Yeah, piffs are encouraged.
They are.
Pay it forward to your
Yeah,
fellow
tried
vapor.
it. Give somebody else a chance who has. It's for 3 10 ml bottles from from River City Vape. Sorry, here in Edmonton.
Fired. Fired. I'm telling Creeks. He's watching, isn't he?
Fired. I've
his
only
ass.
worked one shift.
Fired. You're not working again. Fired.
Nice. I see some pips coming in.
Nice. And it's good to see everybody out again. I know we were doing the giveaway last week for 50, and we still have 45 this week. It's good to see everybody back and new faces.
Absolutely.
So I was building my Cyclone. It looks pretty good on the K100 here with my Chaplain tip.
Nice.
Ooh, I like that.
Kind of blends nice.
Cool.
You guys see that?
Very
I can't
nice.
see myself.
So while
Very
we're
nice.
watching the numbers roll in here, Matt, do you ever try rebuilding, or are you mostly?
No, I haven't actually. I don't know if I'd have patience for that. Like, I just
Holy
don't
shit.
think. Yeah, like using like the little, all the stuff you got to use to do
Nice.
it, right?
Oh, holy
Yeah,
cow! Sorry to interrupt. Krieg's upped the frickin'.
Creeks just upped it.
Krieg's just upped it. It's 330 mils and a K-Fun clone.
I gotta say that name
Hey.
to that store more often.
I'm gonna put a number in here.
So just another minute here, guys, and I'm going to enter the stop. So make sure you got your numbers in. One number only, please. So, yeah, no, it takes a little bit of practice, but start with the dripper, Matt. Give it a try. It's worth trying.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I won't call me a lazy vapor because I'm not. I'm pretty good. Like, I change my coils once a week, toss them out. Put new ones in. I don't know if I could. I don't know. I mean, I know there's so many people into it, and I get it. I just don't know if I'd have the patience for that. Like, probably one thing, and I wrecked my battery. But like, okay, that's it. That's it. It for this.
Yeah.
Hard. I don't know. I don't think it's for me.
I built this on New Year's Eve. This one, I've changed the cotton out twice on it,
Oh my
and
god.
my only problem is dripping. Whereas before I just filled my cardo and went, But now I have to fill it every time it goes dry.
Oh, forget that.
I'm a lazy
See?
vapor.
Yeah, you're like me. You're lazy vapor. I just fill my Kangaroo tank and I'm done.
All right, so I put the stop in here, so we're going to generate a number.
Yeah,
And
she loves it.
the number is 8. So you want to have a look for 8 there, Brian, and let us know
I'll
who
take a
the
look here.
winner chicken dinner.
Winner of
I see
7.
Victoria Dawn with an 8 right off the bat.
Oh,
right
Victoria
off the
Dawn.
bat.
Yeah. First bet or the first number.
Is there anybody else with an 8, or is he the only one?
I think that's the only one.
Victoria
Victoria
Dawn.
Dawn.
There we go.
Right on.
You want to enter the email? They got an email yet there, Brian?
I got my
Creeks?
email address here, so if you just wanna, I got my Facebook up there. If you just want to send me your
A PM?
screen name, your real name, your nick level, the 3 flavors that you want, and they're 330 mils this week because Krieg's up the ante, and I think I seen a K-Fun was in there too. So
Right
Nice
on.
haul.
You might want a shipping address too, eh?
oh yeah, shipping address. Even as soon as they sent me an email, I'd be able to email them back. But yeah, please, your shipping address, post office box, whatever the case may be.
Excellent, excellent.
Birthday and proof of ID.
Thanks to Matt, right? Yeah, I can tell.
There, Krieg's is changing it. Place an order on the site instead.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to still touch on that nicotine issue. I mean, I'd be more than happy to
Thanks,
finish
Kevin.
that off for you.
Sure, since we had to interrupt you.
And thank
No,
you.
no,
Thanks,
it's okay.
Chris. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it actually is very, very defined. So if you look at the smoke, so look at it this way. So in Toronto, we have shisha bars, we have vapor lounges, right? And the reason those are legal is because they don't fit the tobacco control legislation, which is clear when it says tobacco product, right? So it's virtually pretty clear. So if you say, or if I got fined under a tobacco, I'm smoking, I'm vaping in a no smoking area, is that the same thing? Well, not defined that way. It's not. So nicotine isn't what makes it a tobacco product, right? So we got to be very, very careful. If it contained tobacco that's combustible, that is a tobacco product. And that is a combustible tobacco product, which means you're going to get fined under the law. So the nicotine part is irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Are you open tomorrow, Kriegs?
I think he's got Mondays off. Just he's got his information on his site.
I think he changed his hours not long ago.
Yeah, he still needs a day off now and then.
I understand that, but I wasn't sure which day he decided to take off.
He had to
11
day
to
off.
7.
That's enough.
He took
I
the
told
day
you.
off.
I'll stop by there tomorrow after work.
All right. So, does anybody else have some questions for Matt here? Since we've got him on, I think we'll try and have him on again in the future as things kind of progress.
Yeah.
But, since we've got him today, ask the questions that you guys want to know. And
Actually, Matt, can you put up your links? I think you mentioned a Facebook group and a website. I don't know if they got posted in the chat there.
I actually don't, but I'll do it right now. Give me a second.
I posted a great letter that Matt had written on Alberta Vapers.
Oh, really?
Friday.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Put me on the spot. Okay, hold on. Let me go into...
and if you drop it into side chat on the Hangout, somebody else can drop it into the main chat if you don't have a login on Vaughn.
Yeah, actually, I don't. So oh, you know what? Never mind. Someone just put it in there. I see it.
There we go. Chef Ryan's all over it.
Yep. Whoever that is, they did it. So, this website obviously is updated as much as I possibly, or we possibly can. So, it's usually pretty up to date, and you should find a lot of, good information in there. Oh, thanks. Whoever put the Facebook piece in there, that's even better. So that just saved me from fumbling around looking for it.
Chef Ryan again. So right on.
Yep.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
On the ball. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do know this, and probably in closing, I know it's a controversial subject, with the vendor piece, with the CCR 2001. I get it. I hear it loud and clear. And I know it can be very confrontational at times, so, I do understand that. But at the end of the day, this is to be a credible industry, and until that stuff starts happening, the anti-smoking organizations will continue to bring that subject up every step of the way. And it's unfortunate, but it is just kind of what it is. Health Canada has created this issue because they've made it virtually impossible to understand what actually is the law. And if you look at the advisory message from 2009, it's no wonder people are confused. I mean, whether you're a vendor, you're a consumer, you're the media looking for information, no wonder you're confused on it. So it's not that it's shocking, but we need to fix it. We need to fix it now. To advocate for the industry is difficult when that stuff's happening, right? So it's definitely, I hear the message. It's difficult, but we need to talk about it.
Rainbow Vapors saying, don't forget about the CPSA.
Yes, absolutely. So, so many different things that we have to think about. So the Consumer Protection Act, that's what applies to your batteries. You look at your batteries, you look at all those different pieces, they fall under the same thing, right? So the battery, all those pieces. So there's so much that goes with this issue that we need to start discussing and talking about. So if there's any questions, just go for it.
Vinny had a question, but I dropped the broadcast. I had to restart, so I missed it.
Maybe I could.
How does net e-liquid come into play? Would it still be considered a tobacco product?
What's net e-liquid? I don't know what that is. Is that... So, but wait, I think I understand what he's saying, or she's saying. Are you talking about liquids sold online?
Naturally extracted tobacco e-liquids.
I don't know, but I could probably tell you there's probably major legalities with that. Like I think I have an idea of what it is, but if that is what it is, then obviously it falls under the Tobacco Control
Yeah,
Act.
if it's naturally extracted tobacco, I'm sure it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and vaping that, I'm not sure that would be a very wise move. But that's personal. I don't know much about it, so I'm really not qualified to answer it, but I would say it's probably not the best of ideas. So that's a huge problem. And if that is really happening, then it's kind of like, the ugly subject of DIYers, right? So if you're a DIYer, that's one thing. But if you're selling it to a consumer, that's another problem. So...
Just like anybody else selling something on the market, they got to
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, think about this. Think about moonshine, right? There's a reason moonshine is illegal to manufacture and to sell. The reason, because one small mistake and you can kill somebody. So that's why the law is very, very crystal clear on that. So think about it. I mean, obviously it's two different things, but that's a DIYer, like basement DIYer selling to a consumer, right? It's completely illegal everywhere, right? So there's a reason for that.
Okay, you don't have to mash the keyboard. Ask the question out loud.
It's like getting caught passing a note in class.
Busted.
Is there something you have to say that you'd like to tell the rest of the class?
Did your mic get a little bit far from your mouth? You're not
We
coming
can't hear
through
you
much.
at all.
I just noticed.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Speak into the mic. Come on, man.
Yeah, I had to pull it down. I was just saying, do you have anything written down there that you'd like to tell the rest of the class?
Yeah.
You can tell when I'm typing because my eyes also go very angry.
And you get this great big smile on your face, like you think you're being funny.
Yes, Victoria Dawn, use Krieg's site there, the River City Vapes, and he'll get everything right out to you right quicker. Straight to him, straight out to you. He said he'll mix it up tomorrow and send it out to you tomorrow night. There you go. There's the website.
Chef Ryan, you're hired.
No doubt.
Our link master here.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I keep getting the circle of death on my computer, so I'm just thinking I might crash.
Uh-oh.
I think next week you need to be like the week before. You need to have a couple drinks before you get on the show. It seems to get you a little more talkative.
No, I've been very good listening. Matt, it's been awesome having you on.
Well,
Thank you.
And Kevin was just would like to thank Matt for coming on the show and sharing some great info with us and to take away from the show, right? So, and that was the idea, right? I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about that you've seen out there, Matt, that you'd like to see?
Who, me?
Yeah, I mean...
We did see, there was a Facebook link. I don't know if we want to talk about that quickly. And what I certainly won't do is get into the realm of it. But what I will say is this. When we start advocating, let's vape, in the basement so nobody can see it. And let's not vape in public because that's a really bad thing. What that really does is set into motion the wrong message that we're trying to advocate for, which is we should be vaping in public. I mean, obviously being careful where you are, of course, but the worst thing you can do is take it underground so that no one can see it. It's kind of like if you say, I don't sell nicotine, but you really do, and it's all like, behind 100 different pages. That works against the entire argument, which is we need to be out there with factual information doing the right thing. If you're hiding stuff like that, it's not helping, it's making it 1,000 times worse. So, think about it that way. And I've seen that happen a lot, right? Like, I don't sell nicotine, but yeah, you really do. Okay, well, now what do you think has just happened? Like, why are you hiding it in the first place? So it just makes advocating even more difficult to do, right? So I think that's what I'd probably close off and say is, Be out there, vape where you're supposed to, understand the law, truly understand. What does the law say? It can't get any easier based on the research part of it, right? It's all in there. Understand it, understand why nicotine, where it falls under the law, and why it makes sense. As a consumer, you hold that power, right? Like, consumers hold more power than anybody else, because without consumers, none of us are going to stand here today. All the vendors would disappear tomorrow. So, and I truly believe buy Canadian, because when you buy Canadian, you're helping that local vendor get out there even more. I mean, that's just a side note, just personal, but everyone can do what they want. But I just think there's so many vendors in Canada that need your support, and they need you to help them get there. And you don't help them get there when you're vaping, let's not vape in public. Like, wherever that statement came from, it is completely annoying. Yeah. And so that's truly, without getting into the real deal of that, I would just say that. The worst thing you can do is hide, because when you do that, you just make it 1,000 times worse. Mm-hmm. And certainly don't create noise where we don't need it. If you start sending, calling up your MPP in areas that don't have any sort of bans, like, what do you think that sends? It sends the wrong message. Like, there's a ban? Really? We didn't know that. Oh, I quit smoking. Even worse, right? So that's what I would say.
Those are the type of comments that you hear from the media. So do you jump into those articles and talk to the editor and say, WTF, what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I certainly say that when it comes to Health Canada, because I can back it up. Like, I can back those statements up very simply. I can't change when people are commenting and they said, I smoked for 30 years and now I don't smoke because I just bought this new Ego. It's the wrong thing to be saying.
So that whole I'm proof movement you're not in favor of.
Absolutely, because when you start connecting that, what you're actually saying to all the anti-smoking groups, it is a smoking cessation device. And I've had so many antis, in public health organizations say, I hear the message you're saying, Matt, but the perception is, if I move to e-cigarettes, I'm going to quit. Where do you think that comes from? It comes from consumers.
What does the media do then? If they write an article and it's negative towards the e-cig industry, and I don't want to use e-cig, I'll use personal vaporizer.
Sure.
What after they write the article and it's already published, then you approach them and you say, hey, this is incorrect. These are the facts.
Yeah.
Do you see cases where they actually correct themselves, or they just kind of shrug it off?
Oh, no. No, see, here's the facts. If you print something and you print it and it is incorrect, you have a job to fix it. But you only have that job to fix it if the correct information has been provided. So once I can provide that, is certainly on the Health Canada issue, that story must be amended, because what you're saying is not true. What you're saying is false and it's misleading. So what you can amend, and what we've always asked for, is the statement, Health Canada has not authorized electronic cigarettes. That is a true statement because they've not authorized it. What is a false and misleading statement is when you say Health Canada has banned electronic cigarette use in Canada. That is false and misleading, and that's not true.
See, and that's what the bulk of the population that don't use personal vaporizers are saying.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely.
The part to educate them is the hard one, because a lot of times they're just going to put up the brick wall and not listen, and they have their own opinion anyways.
Absolutely, but what that opinion is doing is creating a difficult issue even further.
Yeah.
So it makes it even harder to fix. So the questions that we've heard tonight, and the other questions I hear every day, how can I help the cause? You can help the cause by being educated, being out in the media correctly, and fix the misinformation that you're seeing. That's how you can help. And you can help by, if you're out and you're using, your e-cigarette or whatever, the worst thing you can do is hide behind the bathroom wall and do it, because you just make it even worse, right? So it's a two-pronged issue. But if you, as a media outlet, are putting misinformation out there...
So Papa had a question.
Yep. Go ahead.
Go, Mandi.
Yep.
So me?
Yeah.
Well, I just, Papa had a question a little while back.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon?
Say it.
Okay, I put it in side chat. Papa had a question a little while back in the chat there. It's kind of been Gone. Says, do you keep up on the testings that are being done by Dr. Farsolino and the further tasting to be done on flavorings?
Well, I've obviously heard lots about that. Am I keeping up with testing? Well, testing in what avenue? Like testing of e-liquid, testing what they're doing. So I'm not quite sure of the question there. Or maybe I'm just not.
Those are my curtains, Murdoch.
Puffer, would you like to expand on your question?
Or maybe I'm just not getting it.
Yeah, and Vinny says...
There, testing of e-liquids.
Yeah.
Okay, but testing of what e-liquids? Like, of where? Of who?
I'm going to assume the final product just before it's sold.
So you mean from all vendors, right? Is that? I think that's kind of the bigger piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reality is you know, yes, you're supposed to be doing mandatory testing. You know, that's pretty obvious. Are we keeping up from it from a KAVAR standpoint? Well, no. I mean, that's not a KAVAR mission statement to begin with. However, that being said, it's up to the vendor to be providing that information and be keeping up with it. So that's probably how I would probably frame that.
I just want to, one quick thing here. Vinny said, what he doesn't get, he's got a couple of friends that switched to e-cigarettes, then stopped vaping and smoking altogether. So did the e-cigarette not help them quit? This is what I can't wrap my head around.
Sure, and there's no, look, there is no debate whether it's Canada, globally, or anywhere else, that the majority of people that move to electronic cigarettes don't use tobacco products anymore, right? That's a pretty known fact. And I'm sure everyone on this panel tonight is going to say the same thing. Like, I smoked for 30 years, I use my e-cigarette, I don't smoke anymore. Yeah, we get that. But the reality is it a proven cessation device? And the answer is no, it is not. Has it helped people quit and millions of people quit? Sure. We know that already. Everyone has their personal stories about it. But is it authorized to say that? The answer in Canada is no, it is not. So, for example, if you look at nicotine replacement products, so you've got the gum, you've got the patch, you've got the new inhaler that's been on the market, and the mist. That has gone through market authorization through Health Canada. It is a quit smoking device, and therefore it is marketed as such. If you look at every one of those products, they carry a drug identification number for that reason. Electronic cigarettes do not provide that. They are not a quit smoking device, and they're not authorized to say that. So to really answer his question, yeah, they quit tobacco products, that's wonderful. Is the electronic cigarette authorized to say that? The answer is no, it's not.
There we go.
It has not gone through that testing, so therefore the answer is no.
What I think is nuts is how they market these quit smoking replacement therapies. Mm-hmm. And the amount of side effects and suicides that happen from them.
Sure.
This is my opinion, right? But just how can you say that they're any better when people are having massive side effects and killing themselves over a quit smoking thing? I haven't seen it happen with vaping yet. But
absolutely, and you're right. So first of all, I don't make that claim. But secondly of all, if you look at the product that you just mentioned, yes, you're absolutely correct. That particular product, there's actually two of them, have been involved in class action lawsuits within the US, within Canada, and within the UK. So that's a known public fact. Anyone on this show can go research that on their own, and you'll come to the same conclusion. So what they're saying is, in fact, yes, that is happening. But how many people have quit smoking using that product successfully? They're looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking at, the subsection that's absolutely happened. Do I agree with you? The answer is yes, I do. So it's again a two-pronged issue. What does public health look at? So when they look at e-cigarettes, by the way, they don't look at you personally. They look at what is the dangers of having this product on the market. The danger is that they're concerned that teenagers are going to pick up the product and be addicted to it, which now leads to a new generation being addicted to electronic cigarettes. So they're looking at the bigger picture, not the subset of 25% that are smoking that are going to move to e-cigarettes. So they're looking at they're always looking at the general population, right? So it's a bit misleading, but you got to look at it in that way. Do I agree with you that people using those products are a failure? Yeah, I absolutely do. The latest research indicates nicotine replacement therapy fails 90% of the time. They are a total failure. We already know that. We already know.
In this room have probably tried
Absolutely.
them.
I heard the numbers of somewhere in 95.
Yep. Absolutely. It is a failure. And you got to think the other bigger picture. So the bigger picture now in Canada, 37,000 people die per year. In the next 25 years, that's around 1.2 million people are going to lose their lives. That's the reality. So do we think nicotine replacement therapy works? No, we don't. And we can also say a lot of public health groups already realize that. They already know this. So that's not new news. That's what we already know. They are a total failure. It's just reality. So another long-winded answer,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I totally. And I mean, I know your answers are long-winded, but they're informative, and you're trying to get the point across. So I need to actually apologize to all the questions I've seen scrolled by and I can't find again that we're not able to answer. And if you really need an answer to it, please send a message to Matt on CAVR, or get a hold of me or something, and we can try and get you an answer. We need to be informed, right? And having good information is important. So.
And that's the thing. We're not only just getting an answer, we're getting the correct answer, and that's what we're looking for and what we need to have.
And none of us are looking to lie to any of you either. If we don't know the answer, we're going to tell you we don't know the answer. And I think that's the other important thing,
It's hard. The nicotine replacement one is a huge bone of contention for many, many people, because you got to realize the big pharmaceutical companies are in the business for sick people, right? They don't make money on people that are not sick. So nicotine replacement therapy has been around for decades. It is a huge moneymaker for those people because, first of all, we know that people use them and they fail. They use them and they fail. They use them and they fail. So it's a huge, huge part of their financial dollars. So there is no doubt in my mind that they're not too happy with e-cigarettes, period. We already know that. We know that those products don't work and they're going to fail 90% of the population. So it's a complete failure. It's a public health disaster is actually what it is. Because out of those 90% that fail, what part of that equates to your 37,000 annual deaths? It's a huge part of that. These people are dying, and they're dying because they're smoking, and that's the fact. So it's a huge problem.
And I think it's Cindy. She's saying Rainbow Vapor is the name, and if you're a vendor and you need help, you can contact whatdoesthelawsay.ca. We can help.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
that's great of her. Because she did all the research, and
it's already done.
And willing to help. That's great. Willing to help. That's fabulous.
If you look at what does the law say, when I was being educated on especially the legality issue, because that's really what I nail most of the time is the legality part. You're right. It is very difficult to understand. It's hard to get the right information. That webpage makes things really easy to kind of follow through. We talk, the labeling pieces in there. Is nicotine a drug? How can it not be a drug, right? We already kind of heard that question about tobacco. It's right in there. It really makes it easy. If all consumers could just read that, understand it, ask the questions, that's where you play a role. Don't look for Kavar to do that. That's one person. How many vapors are on this show today? How many vapors are within Canada? If they all took that action, understood it, wow, we'd be in such a better place. Such a better place. And Cindy's one part of that. She's one part of the piece, but we need all people to start getting in on that. And that's what it truly means, absolutely. Nailed it.
And we're a community, and we're here to work together. We're not here to fight amongst each other. I think we need to work together and have the outcome that we'd like to see. Because I don't know when I'm going to stop vaping. I really don't. I could vape for the rest of my life. I could vape for the rest of my life.
You probably won't. we enjoy vaping. We got to remember that.
I do.
We really enjoy vaping. And I will say, obviously I'm very familiar with some of the true antis out there. And if you want some true antis, go look up Dr. Matthew Stanbrook. If you really want a true anti, it doesn't get any worse than that train wreck. But the reality is, that's what you're up against. And we enjoy vaping on a recreational use. Mm-hmm. All of us do. Now, there's many people out there that don't use any nicotine, and that's your personal choice. And, it is what it is. Yeah. But you still enjoy vaping for whatever reason. And that's what you need to protect. And you protect that by getting factual information, correct information, and start using it to your advantage. Because when that's not happening, again, it's finished.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, how long have you been vaping?
Actually, I'm a pretty new vapor. I've been vaping maybe 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. And, I have the same story like everyone. I smoked for 20 years. A lot of my family were smokers. And unfortunately, the majority of them are no longer here. So I have a very personal touch with tobacco and with vaping. So not only do I see it from a personal standpoint, I've been at many, many deathbeds caused by that product. And this is where e-cigarettes come in. I can tell you from a personal standpoint, I just went through it a year ago, the year before that. There is nothing worse than watching that. And then adding on top of that, these people are still addicted to tobacco. And, what a shame. What a shame that is. And that's,
I agree.
So I take it at a personal level. So it's why I'm an advocate on the same part, because I truly believe this product is going to save lives. It's probably saved every one of you on this call and everyone in that chat. That's why your vendors are there. So, vendors are there to provide you with a product, but think of the bigger picture of that. So it's a huge part, right? So
yeah. I have another one for you.
Yep.
When do you think, and this is completely hypothetical, when do you think Health Canada is going to actually make their decision on e-cigs?
Oh, I think it's coming soon. I think, there's been so much media attention on this. There's been so many health groups, just pounding them on this issue. And I think it's coming soon. I'd give it about 2 or 3 years, or even before that. And I think
Canada slowly, I'm thinking it might be a while.
I don't think so. I think people are highly mistaken if you think this environment's going to sit here for 10 years unchallenged the way it stands today. I think you're definitely correct. I think you have many other countries like the UK that are already starting to enact legislation. You have in the United States, every day there's a new issue down there. Trust me, Health Canada is just waiting, and they're going to have something in the making soon. So I think it's coming way sooner than way later.
Do you think it's coming for the positive, or do you think it's kind of leaning on the negative?
I don't know. I can tell you this. I think they've been caught with their pants down, number one, because when you challenge the legality issue with the Schedule F and CCR 2001, they know you're onto something. I can tell you right now, vendors that have challenged that, for a reason. So think about this. Do you really think a regulator is going to, let's say they are illegal. So put it to you this way. Let's say it is totally illegal under the law. Do you really think a regulator is going to allow a business, probably 500 vendors, to operate illegally? Do you really think that? No, they would shut you down within 2 minutes under the law. Just the same way they do with marijuana, right? It's very crystal clear under the law how that is regulated. There's no question about it, right? There's no gray area, and there's certainly no gray area with this issue. I think something's coming really soon. Do I think it's going to be positive? Well, I don't know.
So are you in a position to actually, sit down in the Health Canada meetings and defend the case?
No, because Health Canada doesn't speak. So they don't speak at all. Period. There is, since 2009, now we're into 2014, they don't speak, period. And that's the problem. They don't want you at the table. So they're not willing to have you at the table. So the way it stands now, the answer would be no to that, because nothing has happened, right? Every time there's a new media release, they just send a release out. They don't, there's been no interviews with Health Canada on all of these issues, especially the one that's happening in Nova Scotia. Nothing. Zero.
So if somebody in the media had all the facts and actually knocked on their door, do they just not open it so they don't talk to anybody?
They don't talk to it. You won't find any media releases where Health Canada has had an interview with any media. There's not one. And you can scour the internet all you want. There is not one of them out there. They do not come to the table.
That sounds like something for
2020.
So,
do their own experiments, and this is what we figured out, and fuck you.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
What they will send is a statement sometimes, and you can see that in the media, right? But has Health Canada ever sat down and said, we want to discuss this issue? The answer is no, they haven't. And there's not one piece in the media that you will find where they had an on-air interview. They're not going to do that. They're a regulator.
What we have to do, we have to find out who's in Health Canada and turn them into vapers.
Oh, well, good luck with that one.
Evil Woman has a question here. Evil Woman saying, is anyone from CAVR going to attend the open discussion in Halifax on the 21st?
Well, great question. The answer is yes, we are. We have a representative that will be speaking to that issue. He's a registered speaker. And so he will be talking. I can actually tell you what the topic is. So we were given 2 topics. So we had to choose which one that we felt most comfortable with. So the topic that we will be addressing will be renormalization of tobacco if obviously if you're vaping. Because that's the number one concern health groups have. So we have someone on the floor who will be addressing that issue. So yes, the answer is yes to that.
And I want to thank whoever that person is.
That's
Vinny has another question.
Jay the vaping guy, isn't it? It's Jay the vaping guy?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so let's just pause for a second. So he is on the board at Kavar, and obviously he's in the Nova Scotia area. So it makes perfect sense that he's going to be on the floor talking about that. So yes, we do have somebody there.
Excellent.
Okay, Vinny has a question. So what is with the letters Health Canada seems to send vendors but not others?
Well, absolutely. So yeah, they do send letters. They send a whole host of letters. They will send you letters to, stop selling the product or we're going to shut you down. I can't really answer why they send certain people letters and certain people not, but I can tell you the frequency of that is definitely increasing. So if you open up a store, you can better believe they're going to be knocking on your door pretty soon. So they're increasing. They're increasing because there's more vendors. Right?
They have no credit, or I wouldn't say credit, but they can't do anything because there's no law in place yet. So these are just threat letters.
Well, they are threat letters, but that does not mean that you just don't respond to them. So here's the thing.
You don't ever not respond.
Right. So let me be very clear on this. If you take that letter and you say, well, but I heard there's no law, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage. Let me tell you what's going to happen next. That is the worst thing you can do. So if you get a letter, you need to respond to it immediately, right? Because, trust me, they can trip you up really, really easy. If you've seen those letters, which I have, trust me, you need to respond to it immediately, and you need to say the right factual information. So absolutely, not responding is the worst thing you can do. Worst thing.
So
absolutely.
on your site, do you have a default letter that could be used by most vendors to respond to Health Canada's letters?
Well, we don't, because we don't represent vendors, right? We're on the consumer side, so if you're a consumer, you're not a vendor.
Vendors need to talk to ECTA.
Well, yeah, that would be one. That's obviously one point to go.
Or Rainbow Vapor.
What does the law say? So you have 3 avenues to go to. 3 great avenues to go to. Kavar, unfortunately, is not in a position to support vendors. So, yeah, I can't comment on that.
So Vinny's a vendor in the chat room, and I don't know if you can see chat there, Matt, but he's saying, why do you have to respond?
Well, you have to respond, first of all, because legally you have to say something. The letter that you're being provided is very clear on what it says, right? So if you don't respond and you say, well, I heard it's not legal, or it's legal, so I'm just going to toss it in the garbage. I'm telling you what's going to happen next. They're going to order your website shut down, and they're going to take additional action against you. So,
but that hasn't happened yet with all the letters that have been sent out.
Well, no, that has happened yet. So if you don't respond back, they're going to continue that up. So don't think for a minute if you don't respond that it's just going to go away, because it's not going to go away. They're going to continue and continue and continue. So you need to respond back.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question, Vinny?
I think if you don't respond to, you may be asking for trouble because then
You are. Let me be clear on that. You are asking for a whole host of problems. Because what you're really saying is I'm just going to ignore a letter from the federal regulator and toss it in the trash can because I know what's legal. But what you need to understand is Health Canada is saying, again, if you look word for word on that advisory, they're saying that's not the case. So by not responding, you're going to make the matter 1,000 times worse.
That's interesting because Vinny says he got a letter. They wanted an entire list of products he sells. He asked why, and they never replied 9 months ago.
Yep, and that's Health Canada. Obviously, I can't really speak to that because I don't have the letter, I don't see it. But as I said, the worst thing you can do is just not respond and pretend it's going to go away.
He asked a question back, and he never got a response. So, you did respond, though. So, which is reasonable,
there,
right? That's totally. You can't ignore those letters, though, because it can make the problem
absolutely
worse.
Not.
It's like it's like getting a letter to appear in court and not appearing in court.
Right. What do you think happens under the law? So I can give you prime examples of that. So that's like you not paying your credit card bill, and you take the letters and throw them in the trash can. Well, a creditor can sue you in court for that money. So when you don't respond, you've now made the matter 1,000 times worse.
Yeah.
1,000 times worse. And it's going to escalate much, much quicker, right? Whether you have the ability to pay or not is not the issue. The issue is you have a demand, you have to take care of it. So it's going to work against you by not responding.
And Cindy follows it up too with the question is, how do we win a fight when we don't show up for that fight?
Yeah, she's right.
Yeah,
she's, know what? I can tell you this. I speak to Cindy a lot, and I can tell you, when you're seeing the juice reviews and that's all you're seeing, and no one's showing up for the really important issue, which is hard to talk about, and I get it. It's confrontational, it's emotional. If you're a vendor, I fully get it. But if you're not going to show up for it, and you're doing juice reviews, then all this stuff that you're seeing in Nova Scotia, it's coming to you. So if you look at the Nova Scotia issue, we're going to be there because we've been asked to be there. Other people are going to be there to partake in that. Our job, just so everybody knows who's listening or in the chat, is not to convince anybody, right? Jason's job when he's down there speaking for Kavar isn't to convince, the Nova Scotia Lung Association on what to do. It's simply to have a voice and be heard in a forum that makes sense. So you're going to have people against the argument, people for the argument, and we're going to come to the table. It does not mean we're going to agree on anything. That is not the purpose to be there. The purpose to be there is to say a representative from Kavar is going down there to speak on the issue, just like many other people are going to be there to speak on the issue as well. It's not to convince anybody of anything.
And it's
simply to be heard.
It's an open forum debate, isn't it?
Well, it is. So what you actually have is 4 specific questions. So you have people on the yes side and people on the no side. The forum will be, each speaker has 2 minutes to speak, whether you're for or against. And then the public, the general public who's in that forum, has a right to ask questions, just like you guys are asking questions of me today. So that's how it's going to be. And what I will say is that this is the first time I've heard of an organization saying, hey, you know what? We aren't quite sure. We don't really know much about this product, but we want to bring everyone together to have a public debate on it. It is the first time I've ever heard of that. Because yes, there has been big, panel discussions. We had one, or actually there was one with the Non-Smoking Rights Association a year ago. The only problem with that is that Vapers weren't allowed to be there. Any members from the electronic cigarette industry weren't allowed to attend. So really, what kind of open forum is that? It's ridiculous. So this is a really great opportunity for consumers to be there, taking place, and being part of that. It's not to change someone's view. It's simply to be at the table. That's all. That's what it's for.
And to be at the table, I think, is the right thing, to come prepared with your facts. But I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of public people that will be there just, kind of selling the I'm proof movement,
Sure.
which isn't backed. So that's going to be a largely wasted time.
Right, and it's not backed, but at the end of the day, we certainly can't say that about Health Canada, that we're going to sit down at a table and talk about this issue. We can't say that about the Non-Smoking Rights Association, who were at the table but decided to exclude everybody else. So you're right, you've got to have your facts correct, and especially when you're in that forum, you've got to be able to back them up. What you can't say is, there is no ban in Canada, and then when asked, well, show me the law, you're like, well, Schedule F. Well, that's not part of it, right? So it's about being educated and having a voice to speak about that. That's where consumers come in.
Is this going to be more of a provincial thing, or is this going to be of a federal type?
Well, no, this has nothing to do with federally, right?
Forum.
Federally has nothing to do with it. This is just an organization wanting to have an open panel debate.
And it's probably so they can make their decision about how,
of course,
and have their say, so they're educated in everything's going on. They're not just jumping to conclusions.
The same thing. Right, it's the same thing about this forum, right, where I'm able to provide people a different view of different topics that are hard to talk about, right, because they're controversial, right? So it's the same way we're doing it today, obviously in a different forum, but they have a lot of questions. So what they want to do is say, we want to be as fair as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. So we need people on the yes side, on the no side. We'll give them 2 minutes, then we'll have 10 minutes of discussion, and we'll move on to the next topic. It doesn't get any more fair than that.
Absolutely.
And this is the first organization to actually say, we want you there so we can understand what's going on. So, it's pretty, I think they've done a really good job of that, because it's the first I've ever heard of it.
Oh, Thunderhead's got a crush on Mandi. Somebody's got a crush on Mandi.
Yes.
Mandi's got a stalker.
Oh, gosh.
Thunderhead.
Thunderhead. He's going to bring the thunder. Oh, Mandi's going to turn red.
I am.
Des raises a good point here. Des identifies that, nothing Health Canada can do about the hardware side.
Well, they can't, because that side falls under Consumer Protection Acts, which are already in place. So to really answer the question, think about it this way. Do we have the laws in place already for e-cigarettes? The answer is yeah, we do. So e-liquid falls under the CCR 2001. All the components of your e-cigarette, right, are already Consumer Protection Act. The laws are already here. The bigger question is, why are they not being enforced? So that's truly the bottom line. The age restriction, that doesn't really fall anywhere, but that's easy to fix. That's so simple. It doesn't take a lot of legislative change to make it happen. It needs to happen. It needs to happen now.
So, Matt, question, what can we as consumers do if they are seizing our hardware? Is there, can you talk to that, or? Well,
you mean seizing hardware as a vendor, or seizing hardware if you buy it?
If you buy it, it's just coming over the border.
Traveling.
No, if you're ordering it from across the border, say China or US or whatever it may be, if it's coming over the border, and customs seizes it, what can we do?
There's lots you can do. We could probably talk offline about that, because I'm really not connected with that piece of it. But I can say this, though, in all honesty. Every department, including Health Canada, has to follow a certain procedure, right? So they can't take your product and simply destroy it. There's a procedure they must follow that they have to go through, which is to contact you and go through all of that different pieces. So I really can't speak to it, because I'm just not familiar with it at all. But it is a very set guideline that they have to follow. So I really didn't answer your question, but it's clearly out there. And I think, there's some people you can certainly speak to. Cindy at Rainbow Vapers is a prime person that you can talk to about seizing hardware, and she might have more information, because she is a vendor, right? I'm not. So,
Evelyn just said they seized a shipment of zipper cases at the request of Health Canada. That's hilarious.
I did hear about that. A huge, that just happened.
Yeah.
What I kind of see about it though too is I kind of think that if it's maybe the duty aspect of it, that maybe they hold on to it because they. Okay, no.
It has nothing to do with duty because duty is very simple. If you don't pay it, then it goes back or whatever their procedure is. I don't know what it is, but if you refuse to pay it, you're not getting the product. It's as simple as that. When it comes to e-cigarettes, it's very, very different. Right, it's extremely different. So whether you pay duty on it or not is not the issue because duty is very simple. You pay it or you don't.
Well, and that's what I mean. When it gets to the border, you're not there to pay that duty. Is that why they're holding it?
No, that's false because anytime you get a product, so let's say you order from Amazon.com and that product comes to you, however it's been set up, whether they have a third party that handles duty, sometimes they do, but when they show up at your door, and they say, oh, the duty is $81, and you say, well, I'm not paying it, well, then you're not getting the product.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, those are two completely separate issues. They have nothing to do with one another.
I gotcha.
Yep.
Cool.
Really good information, Matt. Thank you very much for coming to the show.
Yeah,
It's been definitely great having you here.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciated this show because, I know it's controversial, especially with the vendor piece, and I know it can be a bit emotional with that. But at the end of the day, we all have the same fight here. I mean, it's all exactly the same. We all want to enjoy the product that we use, and we need to do that by being educated. And you can't help the fight if you don't know what you're talking about, or if you say, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to let somebody else handle it. Well, yeah, I get that. That's why Kavar is kind of here to help everybody. But that's only one part of it. What does the law say is only one part of it. You have to be there at the fight. So when the Lung Association came out, everyone's going to be there because you need to be there because it's coming to you very, very soon. And I think, some people, for many reasons say, I'm just going to vape and just do my own thing. Well, pretty soon you'll be vaping Winter Fresh or whatever's going on in New York City, and that's all you're going to have. And then my question will be, where were you when this stuff was happening?
One thing that would be nice if we did too is if we somehow got a hold of these people who are just starting out vaping, if we had some kind of series of tests that they go through, I don't know, just something that to show after 2 years things that have changed throughout their body, their lungs or this or that, just have something to fight with.
But you're talking about science though, right? And science takes decades to get. The Matthew Stanbrook issue, and I don't want to get into it because it just makes me so friggin' angry, but the reality is we can't wait. So when the question is, why is this so urgent now? Well, the issue is 47,000 or 37,000 people are dying. We already know this. We already know your experience, my experience, the thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that have switched. Yeah, they feel better. They look better. Their health has improved. We already know that. This fight, though, isn't about that. The fight is about renormalization of tobacco caused by using your e-cigarette in public. That's truly what the concern is. It's not whether you feel better, look better, and your chest x-ray shows nothing. But that's not really what this is about. It's about renormalization, what is fueling the majority of this problem. Right? And so it's I hear you on it, but it's not truly the health piece. People get it. But then you're going to have people say, well, we don't have the studies to prove it, right? So
this is the last question I'm going to just do here, and then we're going to start shutting down the show. But my question is, why do vapors have to prove it's good? Why don't they have to prove it's bad?
Because we're the ones that want it.
Well, think about it this way. Think about it this way. So if you make a health claim on a product, you are responsible to back that claim up, right? So if you say that e-cigarettes are a quit smoking device, then under the laws in Canada, you need market authorization to prove that.
It's a quit smoking device. Quit smoking cigarettes device, sorry.
No, that's false. That's false. No? That is false. Because when you make that claim and you say, I quit smoking and now I'm using
smoking cigarettes.
Right, but what you're saying is a health claim. That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that is a health claim. You cannot say anything like that.
You can't say that. That's like saying, I'm going to drink coffee, and because I drink coffee, I feel really good every day. Think about this, if you went into a Starbucks and Starbucks said on that big bag of coffee, use, Starbucks coffee, it'll make you feel really good and keep you alert. That's a health claim. And if you did that, it now falls under a very different jurisdiction. So the reason you can enjoy that coffee is because it doesn't have that claim associated with it. So be very careful of that, because when that claim is attached, it now becomes a health claim. And if you can't prove it, then it's a deadly issue.
True enough.
So on that note, we're going to start closing up the show here. So normally at the end of our show here, Matt, we normally have a last message we'd like to say. And
Sure.
We'll start with you and
It's always me.
Well, you're the guest. Guests get honors, so.
No, I appreciate it. So first and foremost, thank you very much for this opportunity today. It's been an amazing show, absolutely amazing. For consumers that are listening, you hold the voice. Kavar doesn't hold that voice. Vendors don't hold that voice. You do. Without consumers, there are no vendors. There is no Kavar. There is no ECTA. You hold it. Be educated. Be out there, and if you have questions, get them answered. So that's my message to consumers.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt, for coming. This is very educational, and I'm sure a lot of people, like myself, have taken a lot away from this.
Yes.
A lot of obviously facts are what's necessary to be able to educate people. I think the challenge is getting them to listen. So thank you very much for fighting on our behalf, and thanks to everybody for showing up to the show.
Thank you.
Mandi.
Hey, yeah, thanks for coming to our show, Matt. It was really informative. Kind of learned a lot and got a little confused at some point there, with wording and whatnot.
I know.
Thanks to all of our viewers also for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead there, Brian.
I do want to say thank you to Matt for sure. It was you had a lot of information, not only just for us, but consumers, for business owners, for everybody. So it was great having you out. It was great seeing all the numbers here again, and seeing the numbers stay where they are, even though, talking and just some of this stuff might be kind of boring, but it's all information that we all need. I would like Mandi or Pixie to maybe say something about the vape meet that's coming up next weekend. I'm going, but I want to throw that out there again, please. So, but great to see everybody out.
Right. So I'll touch on that a little bit. In Calgary, we have our vape meet coming up next Saturday. We have a whole host of vendors that have sponsored us, so we're looking to see some people who are interested in quitting, or maybe not quitting smoking, I guess can't say that now, who are interested in the switch to come. We're offering some starter kits for some. Yeah, we're offering some kits to some new vapors who have no gear. It's again next Saturday at the Blind Monk in Calgary at 1 p.m.
Hey, Pixie.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming out, and to all the viewers. We had a ton tonight. Thank you, River City Vapes and Thayer, for putting together the giveaway. As Mandi said, come out to the vape meet if you're in the Calgary area. On the 25th, we have a ton of prizes. And check out the links that Chef Ryan graciously put in chat there. Add yourself to the groups, or get added to the groups, and check out Alberta Vapers if you're in Alberta on Facebook. And I hate goodbyes, so...
I know, me too.
And I'm Jason. I run Redux Vapers. If anybody's new here, doesn't know me, check me out. I'm in Calgary. I'm local mostly. So anyways, vape hard, vape strong. And we'll see you guys all next week, where we'll be doing a talk about the vape meet that happened on Saturday in Calgary. Cheers.